In today's video, what is the gap between home prices when the Toronto real estate market was at its peak versus right now, this point in time where it appears we're dealing with quite a hot spring market? Are prices back to peak market conditions? And if not, how far are prices below peak market conditions? And which property types have held up the best? Which property types have dropped the most? Or if prices are around or higher than peak market conditions, which property types have increased the most in terms of value? Well, we're gonna cover that and much more. As always, let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sam. I'm a Toronto real estate agent working within the GTA and Toronto real estate market with buyers and sellers. And on this channel, I like to discuss all things having to do with the Toronto real estate market. Market stats, market trends, market news, buyer advice, seller advice, building reviews, pre-construction previews, and everything in between. So if you find any of this content enjoyable or informative, feel free to subscribe, or you can also get in touch with my contact information on the screen and in the description box. As we covered in my most recent video, the Toronto real estate market report for April of 2023. This is being recorded May 11th. So obviously we do not have full May data available yet. The average sold price across all property types, across all areas for all home types, key once again, all property types, was $1,153,000. This encompasses everything, as I previously mentioned, from King City to downtown Toronto to Peel to Durham and everything in between. So it's a very general stat because it's all property types. But in today's video, let's compare average sold prices to peak market condition by property type. Now here, we're designating peak market condition as February of 2022. Although, important caveat, technically for condominiums in the city of Toronto and the GTA, condominiums really truly peaked in March of 2022. But for condos, we're also using February because of all the other property types, and really most of the market peaked in February of 2022. Well, let's start out with detached properties. How are detached properties comparing right now as of May 2023 to the peaks of the market that we were seeing in February of 2022? And good news for buyers, not so good news for sellers. Detached home prices across the GTA are down 17% compared to peak of 2022. Because in February of 2022, when the market was at its hottest ever in the history of the Toronto real estate market, we were looking at an average sold price of $1,797,000. And once again, this is average across the GTA, right? So nearly $1,800,000. And once again, this is average across the GTA, not just the city of Toronto or the really nice areas of the GTA, but all of the GTA. And it's quite something because as it stands right now, the average is at $1,489,000. So down 17%. Now, this $1,489,000 figure is much higher than Q4 of 2022 and January of 2023, February of 2023. Prices have definitely increased in the most immediate months because we are in the spring market, inventory is low, rates have been conditionally paused for the time being, so market sentiment is positive and demand outweighs supply. But nonetheless, we're not even relatively close to the peaks of the market that we were seeing within the Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market in 2022, when obviously interest rates were at a historical low and there was a lot of money flowing through the system. What about semi-detached properties? Well, semi-detached properties are down 16% compared to peak market conditions. So quite close to the detached properties we just discussed. Once again, in February of 2022, when the market was at its hottest, we were looking at an average sold price of $1,358,000 for semi-detached properties across the GTA. Now, in this resurging market, we're looking at $1,135,000. So still quite a bit far from where the market was at during peak market conditions. And in my professional opinion, of course, this is a very, very general statement, and does not apply to everyone or every area. But if I'm going to make a general statement with regards to these property types, I believe right now semi-detached properties are somewhat the most overvalued. Now, I could be very well so wrong on that front. Nonetheless, semi-detached properties were certainly the most overbought from a more investing perspective. Of course, I can't comment on that if you're an end user and you love your property. Who am I to say that it was overbought? But purely from the numerical perspective, I am not surprised to see this gap between semis during peak and now. Conversely, I'm actually surprised that the gap isn't more. What about townhomes? Well, when we take a look at townhome prices right now within the GTA and Toronto real estate market compared to peak market, they're down, but down 12%, so much less than semis and detached. During peak market conditions, the average sold price of a townhome across the GTA real estate market was $1,121,000. Now the average sold price is actually below $1 million. It has dipped below the $1 million price point, where we're looking at the average sold price of $986,000. Now, one thing to definitely consider with this comparison to peak market sales were much higher. Listing volume was much higher. And although volume in terms of both listings and sales have increased in the most immediate months, they're still pretty dire right now. They're still pretty low, especially when we compare it seasonally with the spring market. So that does impact averages. When volume is lower, average is a little bit more dubious, but the volume is still high enough where we can have a discussion with regards to averages and it makes sense. Well, if you've noticed the pattern, as we have discussed the property types, the percentage decline compared to peak market has gotten less and less. Well, that is intentional because once we get to condos, and I will start discussing condos now, compared to peak market, condos are still down, don't get me wrong, but down to far less of a degree compared to every other property type. Wherein during peak market, the average sold price of a condo was nearly $800,000, so $799,000 to be exact. Right now, condos, we're looking at average across the GTA. We're looking at the average sold price of $724,000. So still down 9%, 9.5% to be exact, but it's actually the property type that has held up the best. And once again, keep this in mind, condos have also increased the least. So that is with regards to this current resurgence of the market. We're seeing this current upswing. Condos have gone up the least compared to semis and compared to detached and compared to townhomes. And that's also during the peak run of the market. Condos were definitely selling at really high prices, but relative to other property types, condos were increasing the least as well. In a lot of ways, condos have shown in the last 18 months and in the last 30 months, even with the sole exclusion of the beginning of the pandemic, condos have shown themselves to be really the most stable property type. And that's gonna surprise a lot of people, especially those who are very pessimistic and down on the future of condos. I actually had a debate on this topic with someone who challenged me to a debate with regards to the Toronto real estate market. The reason you won't be able to hear that, even though it was a recorded Twitter room, is because that individual has decided not to publish that debate ever since the debate occurred. As I like to call it, a conversation or a discussion that got pretty heated and they did not end up looking good. So as a result, they have not decided to release that recording of that discussion. But they took the side that the Toronto condo market is going to crash upwards of 15 to 20%. And to me, that is a ludicrous prediction. And the counter arguments I provided in that discussion, some of which I've explained ad nauseum on this channel, but I'll continue to explain, comes down to the fact that condos have historically shown to be the most stable. We have no particular reason to believe that all of a sudden factors are going to change and the stability of condos are going to go down. Yes, condos are foreseeing a significant increase in monthly maintenance, but at the same time, condos are the most affordable property options, so the demand will always be higher. According to a basic law of demand, when the price of a product is lower, the quantity demanded of that product is higher. So condos, due to that fact and basically common sense, where the cheapest property type is always going to have the most amount of demand, the most amount of people who can afford it, well, that's going to provide a certain stability for condos, a stability we have seen thus far. This is not to say that condo prices will not decline going forward. On the contrary, I think all property prices are set to come down a bit further after this surging spring market, but by no means do I believe prices are going to crash for any property type, particularly really condos. So as we see, prices across all property types, and this would also shape out if we broke it down by area, if we looked at just maybe downtown or just midtown, west side of Toronto, east side of Toronto, Richmond Hill, Markham. On all fronts, prices are much lower than peak market. There's no doubt about that. Similarly, prices are much higher, or just higher, not much higher in some instances, than they were during Q4 and really early on 2022. And they were in Q4 of 2022 and really early, maybe just January of 2023. Going forward into the summer, I have made my opinions clear, and maybe I can elaborate on this a bit more in the future video. But I believe if the Bank of Canada is set to increase interest rates in the July meeting, which they most likely ought to, and inventory improves a bit more. And as the time of recording of this video, one thing I can say about May is thus far May has surprised me in terms of improving inventory. And even in the immediate last 3 days or so, inventory has picked up a tiny yet noticeable bit. So if that continues and rates go up, definitely we're looking at a much cooler summer, no pun intended, but cooler summer. And that is the hope for a lot of buyers, right? But maybe I can elaborate on that more on a future video. Anyways, I have a lot of cool videos coming out, 3 units that I just sold that I cannot wait to film for you guys. So you'll be seeing those videos very soon as I get down to recording and releasing it for you guys. And yeah, a lot of more Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market reports coming your way. Just a lot of cool content. So for more, subscribe, or as always, if you have any further questions, feel free to get in touch with me with the contact information in the description box. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.